and I saved the giving away goodies presentation for myself. As you all probably know by now, this is, I believe, the 5th or 6th year of this program. The federal government, in addition, Homeland Security, in addition to giving out monetary grants, has the Interoperable Communication Assistance Program, or the TA program. The purpose of the program really is to support interoperability, support the ability of responders to communicate, and from an emergency comms perspective nationwide. Every year, our office and kind of the SWC's office in each state can submit up to 5 requests on behalf of the state to the Fed for technical assistance. The whole online process catalog is up there. Some of the key elements of the TA process: one, it has to conform to a state's existing strategic communications plan and align with one of those initiatives, or align with identified gaps through what used to be the CCA process, now the CYBRA process. Second, obviously apply up to 5. This year, the Office of Emergency Communications, they've been changing their priorities every year the last few years. This year, they are going to be priorities that either are in support of broadband or their SCIP goals for multi-state collaboration. That's kind of the heading or the direction that he has been heading recently is, you know, we've been sending lots of money to the states, and when something bad happens up in Colorado, the neighboring states in the region need to be using their resources and sending them up there as well and help. Kind of 2 focuses on a national level right now, but of course for us we need to be focused on the state and local level and what's most important for our needs. Just a quick look back, last year our office has been very successful in getting technical assistance requests. Over the course of the year we had 5 different TA requests. We started off with a communications-focused table talk exercise up in Coconino County. These are actually extremely valuable assets, and that was a great TTX up there following their goal to gap closure activities. This TTX both helped to validate a lot of closed gaps, but then also identify some new gaps that need to be addressed. Then we held a CommT training course up in Flagstaff as a component of the TA, and Mike, I believe that was one you taught up there. And then the Division of Emergency Management, in support of our State Strategic Technology Reserve, we started off the year asking for a concept of operations document / SOP for one of the mobile comms vehicles that ADEM had. And then we got the TA, and so we kept talking to them. And then we said, you know, instead of just a TA, we actually have 5 toads and a bullfrog. Can't we get an SOP for all of those? And they said, yeah, sure. And then we said, well, how can we keep expanding this? And so we're going to eventually turn it into a template that we can give out to other agencies so that local agencies with their own mobile comms vehicles have a template to start off with. But we've got that SOP completed. And Karen later will talk about an additional effort that came towards the end of the year, turning it into a video SOP for the deployment of the toads in particular. And so that's been a great TA that we finished up. And then still in progress, and this is one, a broadband TA that we'll be working on for the next year and a half that's already been awarded to us. Just everything in support of the National Public Safety Broadband deployment that OEC can provide. On top of all of that, the City of Yuma is part of the Border Interoperability Demonstration Project, which is another Homeland Security grant program. As part of their effort, City of Yuma has also been requesting TAs through that. It's different funding stream, but essentially the same TA support. Through that process, they've been able to got their TICP updated and had a TICFOG, Tactical Interoperable Communications Field Operations Guide, developed and printed. They're in the process right now of a communications-focused functional exercise, and that's the planning for that has been ongoing throughout the year, and that's occurring up here on October 1st. Then about a month ago, they held a communications-focused exercise workshop, a day-long workshop on how to incorporate comms into normal public safety exercises, as opposed to some of these communication-specific exercises like the TPX or the functional. What can we do to make sure that whenever an agency is holding an exercise, they're incorporating communications into that? So that was a great workshop there, and they were recently awarded an SOP development TA to help out with some of the equipment that was purchased as part of the BIDP project. So all in all, those are 9 separate TAs through both of these programs that Arizona received, and I'll also mention the Navajo Nation recently was also awarded a technical assistance as part of the tribal TA program. So the timeline here, August 5th, the catalog was released. We sent it out to the interested parties list like we always do. We went to the SIEC, and Captain Sacco informed me of the SIEC's input. We're here today to ask for your comment and thoughts on this. What we'll do is after we get your feedback, the feedback from the public, feedback from the SIEC, we'll put together a list of the 5 potential TAs for the state of Arizona. We're required to get the concurrence of the state administrative agency, Arizona Department of Homeland Security, and then by September 27th, we will get our TA submitted to OEC. The questions, and for those who have been on commission for a while, you probably recognize this slide because it's the exact same slide we use every year. You know, these are the questions we're kind of asking ourselves when we look at the catalog. There's about 50 different opportunities that we can request resources on, but we need to identify which assistance requests should be given higher priority, which ones should not be prioritized, which ones align the most with our SCIP or local areas. So I've got this broken down into the kind of the 5 lanes of the continuum and our 12 SCIP initiatives. And we went through and did an analysis of which TAs line up with which SCIP initiatives, and were there any that were valuable. So our first SCIP initiative of expanding the interoperable voice and data communications governance model, this is kind of the statewide governance level. There are some statewide planning workshop TAs that are available in governance. We have received no requests from the public or feedback from the public on requesting these types of TAs. My general feeling is that from a statewide level, our governance is fairly well established in advance, and we're not in the need of using up one of our TAs on that. But if there are other ideas or opportunities, certainly speak up. Initiative 2 in governance is the one that deals with developing regional communications governance structures. And this is something that our office is putting a priority on both this year, last year and this year with the development of TICPs, and then next year looking to develop more active and formalized regional governance structures in the areas that don't have any. But there are a number of different TAs that kind of fit under this. Obviously, CASM, TICPs is a key component of this initiative. Both Pinal County specifically and then the SIC in general has expressed an interest in the TICFOG TA. Every year for the last couple of years, we've kind of talked about this. Yuma has a TICFOG, Phoenix has a TICFOG, everybody kind of wants it. Now that we have a statewide TICP, by the end of this year, every county will have their own TICP. This may be one that it's time to consider doing. Now, one challenge, of course, is you get the TICFOG, but then you got to print those, and those, in general, run between $30 and $35 a booklet. So costs always come into play. There's also, Pinal County had also sent in a request for a TICP update workshop. We already have some grant funds that can support the TICP update there in the East RAC, and so our office is working with and feel that we can use existing grant funds to meet this need without using up one of the 5 TA requests. There's also, some other TA opportunities there. Were there any TAs that kind of stood out for you guys in the realm of the governance area? I think with our existing grant projects that we have this year and some other fundings, we've got a lot of these already taken or into consideration. From a TIC-P or TIC-FOG level, a statewide TIC-FOG may be appropriate. I think going county by county certainly is going to cause problems, simply because that means our COMLs are going to have to carry around 15 different books instead of just one. But whether or not that's the highest priority right now, or there's other TAs we can kind of get to in a little bit. The third of our governance initiatives is the one that deals with supporting national level goals and making sure that, this is basically encompasses plain language, broadband, meeting the NACP goals, those types of things. There are a number of different TAs in here. There is a training workshops on simply principles of interoperability in the NIFOG, and this kind of gets to what Mike was talking about earlier. This is a class that's more designed for the end user, not for the communications community. It's, do you know what's in your radio? Do you understand what the NIFOG channels are and how they're used and what is interoperable? There are some TAs for operational communications assessments where federal facilitators will come in and study your existing comm environment and conduct a needs assessment of it. We did not have any requests for feedback kind of in this realm or requests for support in this realm this year. In the SOP lane, again, we've got a solid PSP framework right now, 9 separate PSPs across 3 categories. There are some different opportunities. There's one communications unit planning and policy TA that might be valuable. Obviously, in SOP development, Division of Emergency Management did submit a request for an update to the state's alerts, notification, alert, and warning system. That SOP is many years old right now, and so that's kind of in their minds the next step of the development of their SOPs is kind of where they're thinking. Anything in the PSD realm? Within technology, I'm not going to go through each one of the different initiatives. There are a lot of technology-related technical assistance offerings that are available. The key element, though, of course, is a lot of this is about analysis and planning. This isn't. It certainly can't be used for equipment purchases, although there is a TA for radio reprogramming if there's a specific type of need. I will mention there is also a TA for planning so that for the Super Bowl we can make a request of OEC to come out and assist with that as well. There really aren't any TAs that deal or that could support the AIRS initiative, the microwave build-out. There is one TA that Adam did highlight for us, the Strategic Technology Reserve Emergency Management Assistance Compact. This was the TA that was actually developed for the southeastern United States for 9 states. We want to have a multi-state TIC-FOG, basically, or a multi-state tactical interop comms plan, where all of the states list out all the assets that we have, and we develop a way of sharing the assets among all the states. We're still trying to finalize our state TIC-P, and our neighboring states are still working on theirs. So I don't know that this particular initiative would be valuable at this time, simply because the multi-state sharing component of that, there's a lot of work that needs to be done with our neighboring partners until that comes up there. But this certainly could give us an opportunity to have those discussions over the a couple of the other TAs, certainly at the regional level. I mentioned earlier the Operable Communications Assessment. We did have public feedback on some of these as being good ideas, although no agency specifically requested the support for their area. Things like the P25 LMR workshop, radio programming and training. There is, audio gateway training available, looking at LMR systems migration, those types of things. In the training and exercise, and this is the area where we've received the most feedback, both from the SIEC, a couple of the training items that were brought up. One, training OXCOM, or the communications workshop. This is a workshop, it's actually a 2-day workshop that's really geared towards radio support of emergency communication, whether it's through the county emergency management or through some other areas. But there are a number of the counties in Arizona where the OXCOM units play a very significant role. In fact, here in Pima County, I believe it's the RACES unit here that is very well integrated with a lot of the operations. So this is a training opportunity that's brought to our eyes. COML courses, as we mentioned earlier, we probably already have some grant funding for COMLs, and the COML classes are actually pretty cheap for us to put on. COMT classes, on the other hand, right now there are only 3 nationwide that teach the COMT course. Two of the instructors for one of those companies are right here in Arizona, but those are still rather significant. So holding a COMT course may be important for us. We've had 3 COMT courses in Arizona, trained 82 students, because we've been pushing lots of students through those courses, more than we're supposed to. But one of the newer offerings this year that really is kind of addressing the issue of not enough COMT trainers is there's now a train-the-trainer course available, and there's a technical assistance offering to request that. If we were to request this, we would obviously need to identify a number of individuals to go through that training course so that we could develop an Arizona cadre of instructors. 3 years ago, we sent, I believe it was 9 students through the COML train-the-trainer course, and that's one way we were able to build up a group of Arizona instructors. This would certainly help us out in terms of having enough instructors here locally to continue to build out and expand our communications unit training program. Again, mentioned earlier, we have plans for up to 5 COML courses and another COMT course with some of our existing grants, assuming that all the award processes go through. Within the exercise lane, one of the challenges that you saw on Captain Sacco's presentation, one of the gaps that we have right now is we have 280 plus people who have gone through the COML course and 20 who have been able to complete the task book and have gone through the state's recognition program. We have a number, that's 260 people who have attended the course but have not been able to pass, and it is a daunting process. There are the opportunities to write on an incident or to be involved in an incident where you're able to get some of those tasks can be a challenge. So we created our own field day to help address that, but there's also to address it. One is the all-hazard COML exercise. This TA allows up to 9 COMLs to attend a day-long exercise, and it is a full-scale kind of, or not a full-scale exercise, but it is an HCIP compliance, an actual exercise as opposed to the kind of the training environment that we set up in the field day. And then there's the communications unit exercise. This TA supports both COMLs and COMTs, although it's 6 and 6, so a total of 12 people during the day. Because it's run as an exercise, it's really restricted on the amount of folks that can go. If we can demonstrate a significant enough need for it, we can be held for 2 days so that we could double it. Again, both a number of feedback from the public on the COMLEX or the Communications Exercise TA from the SIC, ADEM, and the general public. And in the usage lane, there really are no TAs that kind of line up with that, but there are a couple of specific ones that I want to highlight. The Special Project Management one and Native American Public Safety Communication. We had the project management one. We held the beta workshop, test workshop of that 2 years ago. It was a good day-long workshop. If there are agencies that are looking at massive communications projects coming up, we would certainly want to talk with them about that. And then I'll highlight that for all of the tribes in Arizona, one completed their reporting to the federal government for NACP Goal 2. They are eligible to receive tribal TAs, and the feds are more than willing to help them and be involved with them on their technical assistance supports. So with that, we covered the SIEC recommendations, some of the specific agency requests. UMA, on behalf of the Southern RAC, requested a COMMEL course. Canal County requested TICP and a TICFOG. ADEM, an SOP for the alert and notification plan, and then the multi-state compact. These were the only specific agency requests that we received. You know, we did have a few general feedback. I don't know one, but nothing in terms of, you know, I want my agency to have that. As I mentioned, on almost all of those, we already have existing grant funds that we can use to help advance those. So with that, I'd kind of like your feedback on, are there specific areas that you see us focusing on, either specific initiatives or specific TA requests?
Just to review, those exercises, the day-long exercises that put together with the COMMEL and the COMMEL, did that allow them to get the workbook signed off?
They were able to get signed off. They can't do all of the tasks at this particular one. One of them, for example, in the COMMEL, is you have to you know, be responsible for the morale and welfare of health and safety of, you know, your people. And that's not something that we could do during the field day itself, but you got to show you're a leader and you have to have people to lead. But there were, I believe, 7 tasks that were able to get signed off as part of the field day. No, yeah, it's pretty substantial.
It seems to me that that's what it does. We've got 260 people walking around with training to learn books signed off. And rather than putting on more and more classes for individuals to spend weekends in the classroom and not get certification signed off, we need to focus on getting 260 that have already spent the weeks in class to get the opportunity to get actual COMMELs and COMMELs.
Absolutely. And that's a need that I think for the last couple of years we've been looking at is how do we address that challenge of getting these people to have the experience they need. It's always a problem we've worked in, and hopefully we'll have a discussion at a future meeting about what, I'm going to call you out here, what Greg Peters is doing down here in Pima County to help mentor people, because he's doing a great job in identifying people who have taken the course and need, you know, just short, brief bits of training to do one task at a time. We're going to be working with the NIMS Communications Unit work group on identifying what are some ways, besides just the field day and the COMMEL or COMUNIT exercise, that we can help partner people up and get somebody deployed to go with Mike, and get their agencies in particular to support the payment of that resource to go with Mike so that they can get that first-hand training when you need it. Yeah.
4 guys.
You need 4 of them. I mean, and to that end, I'm sorry I'm going to steal your thunder, but I want to make sure we get it. It was mentioned earlier, on November 19th, from 9 to noon before the next PSCC meeting, we're holding a workshop specifically geared toward executive leadership, incident command, value of the communications unit. And we've got 3 great presenters lined up. Captain Worrell will be talking from his perspective on being a COML on these major incidents and how the COMS unit can support the incident command and operations perspective. Lieutenant Brian Lee from the city of Phoenix, he's been their ops section chief on almost every major incident that Phoenix has had over the last 5 years, and he's going to talk from the incident command and ops section chief's perspective on what a COML does. And then, and I'm forgetting Katie, Lieutenant Mark Cady from Massachusetts is a comms tech who's intimately involved in Hurricane Sandy operations and is part of the Massachusetts Communications Unit program and the program that they have. And so he's going to talk about a lot of the lessons learned from that perspective. And we really do need your help promoting this workshop amongst Incident Command to help Command understand the value of the comms unit and why it's important that these COML trainees be given the opportunity to be deployed and to get the skills and experience necessary.
So will any of these technical systems help push us around some of those things? So there's those two.
In particular, the complex.
Complex, right?
Yeah.
Complex says so the six COMLs, right? So that would help, E26, if not, that would help E6, right?
Correct.
One thing we're running into is the first round of COMLs that we did, all the people, like 100 or so that we trained at 5 classes.
Yeah, in 2009.
They hadn't completed the task enough, they have to retake the class, all of them.
Yeah. Wow.
So,
Chairman Justin, part of the problem may start with a from mission to executive leadership of all of the agencies that have COML. The bottom line is we go through the training, do the personal training, we scan locally, but it's very hard to let people go for a week, 2 weeks, to fire some work. And that's where the executive leadership have to have that level of support. So that may be another avenue for gain.
Justin, help me understand. So does it have to be an incident, or can it be more of an exercise, such like the NEPC?
It actually varies. A number of the tasks have to be either performed at an incident or an exercise. Some of them don't have to be at any of them. But there are a number of them where you specifically need to perform it at, in a real world scenario. I think it's better than calling it an incident.
So David, to your point, some type of communication would roll out that, okay, you're going to invest in training, you don't want to do that. You've got to be flexible enough that when an incident happens, you've got to be really close and Justin, can you guys take that out?
And that's a recommendation that we can look at in the future in terms of a prerequisite to attending some of these courses is a letter of support or understanding from the individual's agency of what, it's not just attending the course, they're going to need the agency support as well.
it really goes back to the executive level support and understanding that you're going to run an operational exercise, it's always a communication component, but they're not always actually part of the exercise. It's just that they put in the radio system, but there's no common computer or common brought in to handle that. And it's an opportunity.
Yeah, and that's good. Example, for the City of Yuma's functional exercise coming up in October, they've designated a COML for the exercise so that they can get a couple of people signed off at the same time as part of both testing the radio system itself, but, and it doesn't have to be a COM-specific exercise, any exercise like that.
Any other one that you guys had any interest on?
I think that's a good suggestion. Yeah, Chair. I think it sounds as if we're involved, but there's a shelf life to that training, and if you don't accomplish it, I'm not sure what we're doing. So that would be important if you really help with that. I like the
I agree. Should we even personalize it? And should we go back to, we have a record of people transferring
Yeah.
I think we should talk about that. And see if we can work
Thank you. To follow up, just to frame expectations, even though we're very good at getting the TAs, typically, assuming that everything goes well, the first round of awards would happen in early October with any follow-up awards happening later. Typically what they do is they award every state one right off the bat. Then they look at seeing how much money they have, and they award them in a rolling process starting around January, February after that. So we should be hearing back rather shortly, at least on one of the requests.